What does Hinduism say about the soul? The driving imperative to know oneself, to answer the questions, who am I, where did I come from, and where am I going, has been the core of all great religions and schools of philosophy throughout history. Hindu teachings on the nature of self are as philosophically profound as they are pragmatic. We are more than our physical body, our mind, emotions, and intellect, with which we so intimately identify every moment of our life, but which are temporary, imperfect, and limiting. Our true self is our immortal soul, the eternal, perfect, and unlimited inner essence, a pure being of scintillating light, unseen by the human eye, undetectable by any of the human senses, which are its tools for living in this physical world. Our soul is the source of all our higher functions, including knowledge, will, and love. It is neither male nor female. The essence of our soul, which was never created, is eminent love and transcendent reality, and is identical and eternally one with God. The Vedas explain, the soul is born and unfolds in the body, with dreams and desires and the food of life, and then it is reborn in new bodies in accordance with its former works. The quality of the soul determines its future body, earthly or airy, heavy or light. The Vedas teach that the divine resides in all beings. Our true spiritual essence is, like God, eternal, blissful, good, wise, and beautiful by nature. The joining of God and the soul is known as yoga. We spend so much of our time pursuing beauty, knowledge, and bliss in the world, not knowing that these objects of our desire are already within us as attributes of our own soul. If we turn our focus within through worship and meditation, identifying with our true spiritual self, we can discover an infinite inner treasure that easily rivals the greatest wealth of this world. Hinduism is a mystical religion, leading the devotee to personally experience the truth within, finally reaching the pinnacle of consciousness where the realization is attained that man and God are one. As divine souls, we are evolving into union with God through the process of reincarnation. We are immortal souls living and growing in the great school of earthly experience in which we have lived many lives. Knowing this gives followers a great security, eliminating the fear and dread of death. The Hindu does not take death to be the end of existence, as does the atheist, nor does he look upon life as a singular opportunity to be followed by eternal heavenly existence for those souls who do well, and by unending hell for those who do not. Death for the Hindu is the most exalted of experiences, a profound transition from this world to the next, simultaneously an end and a new beginning. Despite the heartening glory of our true nature spoken of in Scripture, most souls are unaware of their spiritual self. This ignorance or veiling grace is seen in Hinduism as God's purposeful limiting of awareness, which allows us to evolve. It is this narrowing of our awareness, coupled with a sense of individualized ego, that allows us to look upon the world and our part in it from a practical, human point of view. The ultimate goal of life in the Hindu view is called moksha, liberation from rebirth. This comes when earthly karma has been resolved, dharma has been well performed, and God is fully realized. All souls, without exception, are destined to achieve the highest states of enlightenment, perfect spiritual maturity and liberation, but not necessarily in this life. Hindus understand this and do not delude themselves that this life is the last. While seeking and attaining profound realizations, they know there is much to be done in fulfilling life's other three goals: righteousness, wealth, and pleasure. In some Hindu traditions, the destiny of the soul after liberation is perceived as eternal and blissful enjoyment of God's presence in the heavenly realms, a form of salvation given by God through grace, similar to most Abrahamic faiths. In others, the soul's destiny is perfect union in God or in the infinite all, a state of oneness. From the Hindu perspective, the world is the place where our destiny is shaped, our desires fulfilled, and our soul matured. Without the world, known as Maya, the soul cannot evolve through experience. In the world, we grow from ignorance into wisdom, from darkness into light, and from a consciousness of death to immortality. The whole world is an ashram in which all are evolving spiritually. We must love the world, which is God's creation. Those who despise, hate, and fear the world do not understand the intrinsic goodness of all. The world is a glorious place, not to be feared. The Vedas advise, "Behold the universe in the glory of God, and all that lives and moves on earth. Leaving the transient, find joy in the eternal." There is a false concept, commonly found in academic texts, that Hinduism is world-negating. This depiction was foisted upon the world by 19th century Western missionary Orientalists, traveling in India for the first time and reporting back about its starkest and strangest aspects, not unlike what Western journalists tend to do today. The wild-looking, world-renouncing yogis, taking refuge in caves, denying the senses, and thus the world, were of sensational interest, and their world abandonment became, through the scholar's eyes, characteristic of the entire religion. Hinduism's essential, time-tested monastic tradition makes it no more world-negating than Christianity or Buddhism, which likewise have traditions of renunciate men and women living apart from the world in spiritual pursuits. While Sanatana Dharma proudly upholds such severe ways of life for the few, it is very much a family-oriented faith that supports acquisition of wealth, the pursuit of life's pleasures, and a full engagement in society's spiritual, intellectual, and emotional joys. The vast majority of followers are engaged in family life, firmly grounded in responsibilities in the world. Young Hindu adults are encouraged to marry. Marriages are encouraged to yield an abundance of children. Children are guided to live in virtue, fulfill duty, and contribute to the community. The emphasis is not on self-fulfillment and freedom, but on duty and the welfare of the community, as is expressed in the phrase, Bahujan Hitaya Bahujan Sukhaya, meaning the welfare of the many and the happiness of the many. Hindu scriptures speak of three worlds of existence: the physical, subtle, and causal. The physical plane is the world of gross or material substance in which phenomena are perceived by the five senses. It is the most limited of worlds, the least permanent, and the most subject to change. The subtle plane is the mental, emotional sphere that we function in through thought and feeling and reside in fully during sleep and after death. It is the astral world that exists within the physical plane. The causal plane pulsates at the core of being, deep within the subtle plane. It is the superconscious world where the gods and highly evolved souls live and can be accessed through yoga and temple worship. Hindus believe that God created the world and all things in it. He creates and sustains from moment to moment every atom of the seen physical and unseen spiritual universe. Everything is within Him. He is within everything. God created us. He created time and gravity, the vast spaces, and the uncounted stars. Creation is not the making of a separate thing, but an emanation of Himself. God creates, constantly sustains the form of His creations, and absorbs them back into Himself. According to Hinduism, the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe is an endless cycle. The creation and preservation portion of each cycle is a period of approximately 309 trillion years, at which point Mahapralaya, the great dissolution, occurs. Mahapralaya is the absorption of all existence, including time, space, and individual consciousness, all the worlds and their inhabitants, in God, a return of all things to the source, sometimes likened to the water of a river returning to the sea. Then God alone exists until He again issues forth creation.